Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Consensus Technologies MFA Roundup session for January 2024. For those of you not familiar with Consensus, we're an IT company based out of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area and work in three core areas: identity and access management, including user provisioning, access management, and privileged access management; cybersecurity, which includes penetration testing, vulnerability scanning, and cyber awareness training; and managed services. Everything that Consensus does is available as a managed service where we can be your IT staff, act as your primary engineer for identity and access management. We can be your cybersecurity team, and we can manage your security operations center. Over the last few shows that we've been centering things on the National Institute of Standards and Technology cybersecurity framework, which helps organizations of all sizes better understand, manage, and reduce their cybersecurity risk and protect their networks and data. This framework is organized into 5 main areas: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. In our last session in August, we focused on a whole bunch of things briefly. We presented overviews of 5 or 6 different areas. That presentation is available on the Consensus events webpage, and there's a link to it on the resources page at the end of this session. But for today, we're going to focus on one topic: multi-factor authentication. Today's speakers, I'm joined by Russ Bell, who will be talking about rapid identity solutions. Andy Coles will be looking at open text applications. Aaron Zajac will be looking at some foundational products that we use for managed services. And I'm Bruce McDowell, a customer success manager for Consensus, and I'll be introducing the topic today and making sure the slides work the way that they're supposed to. Together, the presentation team has over 90 years of experience in the IT, identity, and cybersecurity realms, so you're in good hands this afternoon. So to introduce things, what is multi-factor authentication? Turning to Wikipedia as usual, an electronic authentication method in which a user is granted access to a website or application only after successfully presenting 2 or more pieces of evidence to an authentication mechanism. The key here is 2 or more factors. What are the factors that you can use? Well, the classic ones are something you know, such as a password, a PIN, or personal information. Something you are, so biometrics, facial recognition, a fingerprint or retina scan; and something you have, such as a USB key, a bank card, or a code generator app. I have about a dozen code generator apps on my phone right now, and a quick pass through my IT junk drawer turned up a couple of relics from the past, an RSA security fob that is so old that the battery is dead and it doesn't even show a code anymore, and a YubiKey for a company that decided not to use YubiKeys. Why is MFA important? It's a situation where more is better. If you have a password, a strong password is essential, but then adding something else to that multiplies the complexity of the authentication process. You want to use something for the extra factors that is not as susceptible to brute force. So if one credential is compromised, it's less likely that the second or third factor are known. So for example, for an RSA fob, which are still in use, or a similar phone-based app, a new code is presented every 60 seconds. So if somebody is trying to brute force that 6-character or that 6-digit code, by the time they get done figuring out what it is, it will have changed and you'll be on to the next one. This is called a layered approach by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and they call this an essential way to do security. Looking at the team, we went through things that we have used MFA on in the last week. This includes logging into bank accounts, the sales quoting tool that I use for Consensus, utility billing, insurance companies. Amazon is now accepting it. Marriott inflicted it on me yesterday for the very first time. And of course, an ATM card and PIN is a classic one. So that's the introduction. On next to some foundation technologies. Aaron, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. The very first product that I'll be talking about is going to be Microsoft Authenticator. This is a very easy to use product. It's very handy. It's very limited though. So if you're looking for an environment-wide MFA solution, this probably isn't going to be the one for you unless you have a more limited environment, or unless you're only using Microsoft products and only their cloud products. It uses their push notifications and tokens. These push notifications are through the Microsoft Authenticator app, and the tokens are your standard time-based token with 6 digits. There's a very handy feature within Azure AD, which relates to Microsoft Authenticator, called Adaptive MFA. The way that they do this is they track your normal activity, when you log in, where you log in from, the geographical location of your IP, your typical public IP addresses, things like that. When you're logging in from that normal IP address and the normal geographical location from the trusted devices that you log in from, it's not going to make you MFA. But if they see an abnormal login, such as you normally log in from San Francisco, but you're logging in from New York City, it's going to make you MFA because it's a weird location that it hasn't seen you log in from before.
And I actually saw this yesterday when Don and I were getting me set up to work with Zoom, Don being the big boss, and I had never logged in as him to Zoom before, and it challenged me for an MFA code. So we decided to let him log in today.
Yeah, this is a great example of adaptive MFA. It's a very, very handy feature for security, but also limits those annoyances so that people aren't constantly entering a 6-digit code or constantly hitting yes on their phone. They also work with, I'm going to go back one. They also work with security researchers and law enforcement agencies to keep track of all of the data breaches that are out there. Those data breaches often have username and password pairs. When they see a username and password pair that matches your account, they can automatically have you reset that password. That way, you're not using compromised credentials unknowingly. All of this is done through something called conditional access, which I would consider to be one of the more underutilized features within Azure AD. You can set specific geographical locations that people can log in from, specific trusted IPs of say, your offices. You can even set it up so that they can only log in from Azure AD registered devices, or they can only log in from a Windows laptop, but not an iOS or Android device. And you can tailor this to specific applications within Microsoft's cloud products. And you can also set it up with the calculated risk, like I talked about with adaptive MFA. One example of this, a customer I've worked with who's a bank, they restrict their clerks and their bank tellers to only being able to log in from the branch offices. The reason for this is because tellers and clerks only ever need to log into their account from the branch offices, and they don't need to log into it from home. So they set it up so that those specific people can only log in from the branch office IP addresses. And this helps us to retain that least privilege mindset that we like to talk about within security, only giving people the privileges that they absolutely need to complete their job. The next product that I'll be talking about is going to be DUO from Cisco. This is a much more wide-ranging product. It can be used with any product that there's a supported plugin for, and it can be used with even products that there aren't supported plugins for. But there are quite a few supported plugins. It's from Cisco, so a lot of companies have worked with Cisco to implement native functionality. It can be used with both cloud and on-premise applications. And these on-premise applications go through a proxy server, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. You can even enable MFA for endpoints. This is done through installing an MFA client on the specific endpoints, be that servers or workstations. And whenever someone's going through their typical Windows or Mac OS login, after they enter their password, it just prompts for that MFA notification directly from the cloud. It even has offline logins in case someone isn't connected to the internet. It also gives users a lot of control over what MFA they would like to use. It has a variety of methods, such as push notifications through the application, as well as time-based tokens, those 6-digit tokens that you enter in a lot of different places. It can utilize SMS or phone calls through a person's cell phone or their desk phone. And it can even use YubiKey for certain things. One example of the user control is that another customer that I've worked with, they have a lot of field engineers who like to use YubiKeys because it provides a lot more automated MFA. That way they're not having to constantly pull out their phone and enter those 6 digits or click yes on a push notification. And that same customer, they also have a few older employees who don't have smartphones or just don't want to install anything on their personal device. And so they like to use SMS and phone calls because that gives them the access that they need without having to buy an expensive device that they don't want. Like you see in front of you, this is some examples from the Duo portal. Whenever you select a user, it gives you a lot of options, and a lot of those options are for troubleshooting or resetting the user's account. One of the most important troubleshooting options is setting your user to active or bypass. Bypass basically makes it so that if they would typically MFA, Duo just tells the application to just keep going without the MFA rather than forcing them to do the MFA. If you're troubleshooting an issue and you're not sure what's going on, this can be a really helpful feature. They also give you the option to see what users have enabled for MFA devices and to manually reactivate Duo Mobile in case a user drops their phone in the sink or their phone breaks and they didn't back up their MFA. It does give you the option to back up your MFA through Google Drive, I believe. At least it is that way on Android. I'm not sure how iOS is. And if you want to go forward, it also gives you options for recent authentications. Those recent authentications show you what account they were logging into, what device they were doing, and even the geographic location. This can give you a lot of information if you are doing incident response, or if a customer's account was compromised, a user's account was compromised. And here's some examples of what we internally are using Duo for. We have Duo set up to MFA on our internal servers. We also have it set up for the Duo partner portal. And that Azure Active Directory there, any application that uses Azure Active Directory as single sign-on or as an authentication source, Cisco Duo will do an MFA for that. And you can even integrate it with OneLogin. Like I mentioned before, for on-premise applications, you have to set up a proxy server. And this goes in between the on-premise application and your authentication server. The user starts by initiating the login to the on-premise application and entering their credentials in. Those credentials then get sent over to the Duo proxy server. The Duo proxy server will then send a login request to the authentication server. This will typically be a Radius server. In Windows environments, it's called a network policy server, which is still running on Radius. As long as those credentials are correct, the authentication server will approve it and send that approval back to the Duo proxy server, which will then send an MFA request up to Duo Cloud, which will push an MFA request to the user's device, usually in the form of a push notification. Then once the user approves that push notification, it gets sent back to Duo Cloud, which then sends the approval to the Duo proxy server, which allows the user to log into their on-premise application and access the resources that they've been looking to access.
So a question for you, Aaron. That's a great description of what happens on a push notification. But sometimes, and I'm thinking specifically of the quote tool that I use, it doesn't have a push quote notification built into it. It comes up and it asks me to give it a token for which I need to use the Duo app. How does that differ?
Yeah, so if it's asking for a token, that's usually going to be a cloud application that asks for a token, but it'll just bring up a screen and it'll say, go to your app and enter in the token, and you'll just open up your the Duo app on your phone, click on the application that you're trying to authenticate with, and enter that time-based token into the application that you're authenticating on.
Slick. Thank you very much, Aaron. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Andy Coles to talk about open text software.
All right, thank you very much. So I wanted to start off by introducing OpenText. So as some of you may know, OpenText was formerly known as Micro Focus. OpenText recently acquired Micro Focus, and they've also been previously known as NetIQ, going back all the way even back to Novell. So when we talk about their products, we're going to be talking about NetIQ Access Management. OpenText has maintained and continue to utilize the NetIQ convention. So their identity and access management pieces will be under the NetIQ banner. So just initially, when you look at the NetIQ Access Management, it is a full comprehensive solution for your identity and access management needs. On this slide here, you can see a number of components that are all around access management, anywhere from your single sign-on to analytics to multi-factor authentication, which we're going to delve a little bit deeper today. Even social identity, mobile access, all these components are all part of the NetIQ Access Management umbrella. Within NetIQ Access Management, there are going to be four main components. When you look at access management, it's going to be really hard to distinguish and really, keep them siloed. So the first one we're going to talk about is self-service password reset. So this is going to be the method that's going to allow you to administer and enforce strong credential policies and provide self-administration for your end users. The main focus of SSPR is going to be on passwords. So these are the passwords that we all know and love, with your 8 characters to 12 characters and your complexities. And so leveraging multi-factor authentication methods such as SMS texting, one-time passwords via email, and challenge questions, SSPR will allow your users to reset their own passwords. So without that call to the help desk, and allow them to reset their own. Again, it's all policy driven. So depending on the policies that your organization wishes to implement, will determine what processes they will need to go to. You can even extend SSPR beyond just password reset and username assistance, and allow users to self-register, so self-create their own accounts, again, based on policies, and even implement account claiming. One of the universities that we're working with is currently implementing this account claiming feature for their students, so that as soon as they put their deposit down, they will begin getting access to resources even before they have fully registered. So the next product in their access management suite is going to be Access Manager. So Access Manager is going to be a simple single sign-on and access control experience for all of your users. It doesn't matter if they're internal or external, mobile, remote, all these different components Access Manager is going to be your one-stop solution. It's going to allow you to manage access to a very complex environment, and supporting diverse services and situations that are going to need those user interactions. So it's going to be a single environment to secure both internal and cloud applications using your existing identities and roles. So it does, out of the box, Access Manager provides hundreds of application integrations. So using enterprise standards such as SAML and OAuth, the NW Trust, it has the ability to provide adaptive and passwordless authentication, again, based on risk scoring from environmental, historical, and third-party inputs, and again, measuring and using that MFA-based approach. So later, we're going to look at a little bit about how Access Manager is going to use advanced authentication and that risk assessment to authenticate users. The third component of access management is going to be risk service. So this is going to provide mitigation controls that is going to reduce the impact and risk exposure of dynamic and just assumed threats. It does use a comprehensive AI to again derive that risk rating. Again, mapping that is mapped to your assets. Provides a path to evolve static to adaptive access controls that consider context, your past behavior, and your third-party inputs. Very similar to what Aaron was mentioning with Microsoft Authenticator and its adaptive. That's where your risk service is really going to take that to the next level. And then the final component is going to be the NetIQ Advanced Authentication. So this is going to be the main focus of today. And again, it offers the ability to leverage many, many different forms of MFA methods. So it's going to have the ability to implement both simple and complex chains of those methods, and it can adapt to almost any environment. Again, while these are all separate products that you see here, they're very powerful on their own, but they integrate so well with each other and really takes access management to the next level. So, and I want to go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into advanced authentication. There are four main components. The first being its framework. So it does have a very flexible framework. It is very scalable. Based on, depending on the size of your organization, the number of policies, what sort of methods and chains. Each of these methods and chains continue to add in and plug in very seamlessly into the environment. The second main component of Access Manager is its universal integrations. Again, it uses a open standards using, such as Radius. It does also integrate with DUO. It does SAML, OAuth, OTP, SMS, even your FIDO and YubiKeys. So it's got a large number of open integrations. The third main component is dealing with the methods and chains. And the big key that we're going to look here is using the right method for the right condition. So it's going to make sure that it is a targeted approach for users and that they use what they have the ability to, and that it's going to be flexible for users. And the last component is those customizable risk policies. So we're going to have make sure it's going to be a measured approach, making sure that we fit the security to the person and to the resource that they are trying to access. As we look at the framework, there are many, many scalable pieces of their framework. It is very scalable. It is an appliance-based infrastructure. It allows you to easily grow and expand the environment as needed. You can spin up additional appliances as very seamlessly. So there are a wide number of platforms and methods, technologies, and again, you can deploy into the cloud. You can deploy on-prem, and whatever fits best for your organization. So you can simplify the number of policies you have because of the way that this framework is built up. So it is very component driven, and you can build a method once and apply to multiple different policies and multiple chains. And what that enables you to do is really have a consistent authentication method whether you're logging in from a PC, whether you're on a tablet, on a mobile device, that look and feel for users and what they're accessing is going to be very, very common and just very consistent across the boards. Moving on, I want to take a look at the methods. So there are many, many methods to choose from, and you can see some of the high overviews of what we're looking at. And a lot of these we are familiar with. The simple LDAP passwords, your device authentication, the email one-time passwords. You can mix and match depending on what your organization requires. And majority of these are available out of the box. So I did want to demonstrate a little bit about this. In this scenario, in this demo, what you're going to be able to see is we're going to go ahead and log into the admin console. Now, currently, the admin console in this environment is just LDAP password based. So the customer wished to integrate a second method. So we're going to just use security questions as in this was. And then we're going to verify that now that we've added security questions, that chain for security questions and LDAP password is going to be available. So let's go ahead and walk through that. So we're going to go ahead and log into this customer. And it's going to prompt me, and I'm going to go ahead and type in my password. And once I'm logged in here, I'm going to go ahead and go into the methods and go ahead security questions. Now we already have some configured, but they really want to ask people where they were born. We're going to add that as another option and save that. Now we're going to go ahead and look at this chain, which is just a series of methods that they have. Currently, it's just set for the LDAP password. We're going to add that security question. We're going to go ahead and save. And then we're going to go ahead and log out of the admin interface. And we're going to go ahead and log into back into the admin console and just see what's available. And if we look, I don't see that CT support chain. We're going to have to address that in a later step. So, let's continue on. Let's look a little bit into these methods that we're talking about. And when we look at the flexible, the freedom of choice, and the right method, you can see that there are going to be multiple chains that you can create. When we were in that last demo, there was a long list of chains that were available for selecting. Again, these are going to be based off of really what's going to best secure the resource and what's going to be best for the users. But beyond that, users will have the options to enroll for themselves which methods they want. Now, some methods can be auto-enrolled. For example, LDAP password. Once they have an account and have a password, it'll automatically enroll them and configure that for them. Likewise, you can, for email, one-time password or mobile, if they have the various requirements of data, it'll auto-enroll. Others you can set to where they need to manually roll. In our scenario, it looks like I forgot to actually enroll in the security questions method. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at that. So we're going to go ahead and let's go do another demo. So we're going to review which methods I'm actually enrolled in. So we're going to log in with my account. Let's go ahead and log in here. And so I'm going to type in my LDAP password. So now this one here is going to be a little different because it's secured. So you can't just log in. So it's going to send a code over to my email, and it's going to take a second for that email code to pop up. And there it goes. So now we're going to go ahead and type in the 6-digit code that it emailed me. And now I can go in and look at my message, and sure enough, I don't have security questions there. So I'm going to go ahead, let's add that. Let's make sure I can use my security questions and do that. So here's my list of questions, and they're sort of questions that we all know and love. So I'm going to go ahead and answer those and save all those answers. And now I've got them configured. So Now I'm going to log out. Let's try logging into that admin console one more time and see if my security questions are going to work this time. So I'm going to switch over there to that admin console. There we go. And we're going to log in with my username. And now we can see that my CT chain is available. So I enter my password. And the second factor that I'm going to use is those security questions. So I answer all those complex answers. And hit next, and I'm logged in. So again, that's going to show kind of how these multiple things work. And if I wanted to, when I was logging in there, I could have used my LDAP password and an email OTP. That was another option that I had. But we'll just pretend that for that purposes, I didn't have my email available to me. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about this risk. I'm sorry, yeah, the risk adaptive authentication. So again, it's going to consume both static and behavior metrics to adapt your authentication. So there are, again, a wide number of things. For example, smartphone, depending on where your geo zone is, you can set up geotagging, and you can determine what authentications are going to be required based on where the user is, their time of day, and again, like Aaron also was talking about, all those different factors. So I do want to demonstrate this a little bit, and I mentioned that we're going to show an integration with Access Manager. So when we look at this next demo, we're going to go ahead and utilize Access Manager. Now I'm going to log into Workday. So so just to set this up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in. I'm trying to get into Workday. So I went to our site, and it redirected me to log into Access Manager, because Access Manager is protecting that. So we're going to log in, and now keep a note, I'm logging in from a remote location, and I've never logged in from this place before. So based on my risk, that's going to be a little bit higher risk because it doesn't really know where I'm coming from. So we're going to confirm that I'm prompted for MFA, and we're also going to verify all the different methods that are going to be available and kind of show that right method for the right time. So let's go ahead and go through this demo. So here I am. I'm going to go ahead and log in with my username and password. So this is just going to be, again, just my normal LDAP password. I'm going to hit sign in. And then once I'm logged into Access Manager, I'm going to go ahead and click to log me into Workday. Now, based on the risk, it just determined that it doesn't really know who I am. And so it just elevated me. So instead of just my password, I'm going to have to do one of these other authentication methods. So using the ones that we've done before, we're going to do my password and security questions. So I'm entering my user password. And we're going to be prompted for my questions. So I'm going to go ahead and answer all of these. Now, if you notice when it prompts me, every time it's going to give me a random number of questions and random questions, and all of that is customizable based on policies. So we're going to go ahead and answer my questions. So I remember what restaurant I went to after I turned 2 and sign in. Now this screen here, it's asking me to go ahead, does it want to save this workstation? So I'm going to go ahead and let it remember what workstation I'm logging in from. This is going to put into the database that it knows where I'm at. So for future authentications, it's going to be able to validate that, hey, I've logged in here before. So my risk is going to be a lot less. So let's go ahead and log out of Workday real quick. And we're going to completely log out of Access Manager. And this is going to, before that, I want to show you, so you can see there on January 18th, I went ahead and it did remember my desktops. And this is going to be the list of all the browsers that I've logged in from. So now I'm going to go ahead and log out. And let's go ahead and log back in. And let's make sure that it's going to use that new workstation, and so my risk is going to be a lot lower. So I'm going to go ahead and log in with my username and password. And now I'm going to click Workday again. Maybe. There it goes. And you can see it let me right in without requiring that stepped up authentication. So that gives you a kind of an example, higher level overview about how this is, the Advanced Auth is going to tie with Access Manager, and again, mitigating that risk and those policies for the users. The last component of Advanced Auth I want to talk about dealing with risk is going to be reporting. This is, again, something that's going to be very, very important as we're looking at security, making sure that we have reporting, making sure that we have analytics surrounding this. So with Advanced Auth, you will have real-time events dashboard. It's right out of the box when you log in. You'll be able to look at some real-time metrics, but you can also do ad hoc and then scheduled reports, again, just to be able to monitor. I'm going to kind of walk through some of those for you real quick. So going back to our admin console, we're going to go ahead and log back in. And at this point, we're getting really good at answering our challenge questions. So we should be able to do our LDAP password, and we're going to answer these questions. And so right when we log in, you can see the list of just some metrics that are going to be this. This is all out of the box. As we scroll down, we can see if there are failures, what kind of authentications. So we can see that there have been some radius logins, that there's been logging into the admin UI, access managers used, what LDAP directories, you can have multiple LDAP directories. And so all of these, again, all of these dashboards and all of these graphs are going to be right out of the box. They're going to be in each one of these on the dashboard is going to be customizable. So you can add and remove and modify as you need. Logging is available straight from the admin interface. So you can flip through all the different components, be able to quickly see the logs, and you can easily export them straight from here with that button. And again, with reports, so we can create a new report as needed. So we're going to, just filling this out, just doing a quick pie chart, again, showing what the events are that have been the last 15 minutes that we're using. So that's going to be really high level. Again, looking at them, you can export as needed those report results. And finally, I do want to give a quick shout out to Hamlin University. I reached out to them. They are one of our customers, and they did allow me to go ahead and utilize their Access Manager and their Advanced Auth and SSPR for the purposes of this demo. So I do want to thank Hamlin University for that.
Splendid. Thank you so much, Andy. And next up, we have Russ Bell joining us to talk about rapid identity solutions. Russ.
Thank you, Bruce. First, a quick overview of the Rapid Identity product. Rapid Identity is an all-in-one identity and access management solution. It has a robust feature set compatible with any environment, including identity lifecycle management, single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, and because of many years of experience in the education market, Rapid Identity also has a set of features tailored to education, including course roster syncing. A quick overview of the architecture. Users access Rapid Identity via the user portal. This is used for claiming and activating accounts, password self-service, and single sign-on into other applications. On the back end, users are provisioned to other applications using many types of connectors, including those listed on the slide. databases, directory, APIs, etc. These applications can be cloud or they can be on-prem using the RapidID Identity Bridge, which links to your local network using standard web ports. Rapid Identity has full auditing capabilities. You can show when a user was created, enabled, disabled, deleted, and what access they were assigned when. This makes compliance with governance requirements easy. If the applications support it, SSO can also be used for provisioning new accounts using the SAML, OAuth, or other protocols. This slide shows the cloud architecture. Most rapid identity implementations are cloud-based, running on tenants hosted by Identity Automation. However, they do also support a secure on-premise appliance platform for customers who require a more isolated configuration. Briefly, single sign-on can work in a couple of ways. First, it can be initiated through the user portal we talked about in that last slide. This allows application access to be implemented as a set of branded tiles. When a user clicks on a tile, authentication to the application is handled by Rapid Identity in the background, and then the user is delivered directly to the desired application. Alternatively, users can initiate login directly with a service such as Gmail. With Rapid Identity controlling access, once the account name is entered, Rapid Identity picks up the process, challenges for a username and password, or whatever authentication method is configured, and then hands control back over to the requested service. So let's talk about configuring the authentication methods. This is done through authentication policies. You can have multiple policies that apply to different user populations, and you can control who is assigned to each policy in a number of ways. The Rapid Identity role functionality of role allows role-based access control. Using the built-in roles module, you can apply different policies to different users, and you can assign owners to roles to satisfy compliance requirements for certification or attestation. Excuse me. You can also use LDAP attributes like department, grade, location, or you can apply different authentication policies based on the day of the week, time of day, the network you're logging in from, whether it's remote or local, or the method used to initiate the authentication request like Kerberos or QR code. Let's go through the different methods available. Reviewing the different factors that Bruce spoke about, you'll need something you know, something you have, or something you are. Rapid Identity has a broad set of supported authentication methods which use different factors. To achieve multi-factor authentication, normally you would use more than one method to log in. And in the slides that follow, we'll look at how these methods are configured in Rapid Identity. Aaron went over Duo pretty thoroughly. Suffice to say that Rapid Identity has a seamless integration that you can set up using your Duo client ID and secret. If you enable the email authentication method, when you enter your username, you'll be emailed a code to enter, which will allow access. You can customize the email. This is the default out-of-the-box email, but you can add HTML, change the subject, who it comes from, etc. In addition to being an identity provider for single sign-on, Rapid Identity can also be a service which uses other identity providers for authentication. So if you're using Azure, for example, as your single sign-on provider, you would use this method. You wouldn't usually use this in addition to being an identity provider, but you could. The functionality is there that you could do that. WebAuthn is an authentication standard that often includes a device with biometrics. It doesn't have to, but usually you would have a device that includes biometrics. So this could be something you have and something you are. Whoops.
Sorry about that. The thing that said that I could sit there and hit the key to mute myself blew up on me. Got to find it again. There it is. There we are. So at the grocery store I go to, sometimes I need help from from one of the cashiers when I'm doing self-checkout, and they come in and they log in and they also use a fingerprint reader. So this would be WebAuthn in action?
Yes, that could be a WebAuthn device. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Kerberos, this will be familiar to Windows admins. This is the crypto standard that Microsoft uses for authentication, and using supported browsers, RapidID can use it too. And most browsers are supported browsers. Pretty much anything these days, except for Internet Explorer, can use Kerberos. Passwords are passwords. Rapid Identity's password policies are very flexible as far as syntax, length, restricted words, expiration. They also have password screening, which links to the Have I Been Pwned service on a password change, so that any username password combos that are listed in known data breaches are prevented before they can be set. So while passwords are generally known as the weakest authentication method, they can at least be made as strong as possible. Pictograph. Pictograph is a method where you essentially choose an image to be your password, or usually more than one image. I have a large school district customer that uses this method in addition to passwords, and it works very well for them. They use one image for elementary schools, 2 for junior highs, and then 3 for high school and their staff. This often works better than passwords because your pictograph images are much less likely to be on the dark web. Plus, it's easy to use the pictures to create a phrase that works for you. It makes it really easy to remember the pictures. For example, I watch football on Thanksgiving. So here's an example of, so watch football turkey, and then it just logs me into RapidID. PingMe, this is Identity Automation's own mobile authentication app. It has similar functionality to Duo, end user functionality, that is. It does not have the flexibility that Duo has. It works only with Rapid Identity. But I have a university customer that swears by this just because of its security and ease of setup for the admins and the end users. It's a piece of cake to use. Challenge questions are usually used for password self-service or recovery. We're all familiar with this, but like Andy showed, it can also be used for authentication. You can also use a QR code for authentication. The QR code can represent the username or the username and password. Admins can print it out, and end users can either use the piece of paper or take a picture of it and then just hold their phone up to their camera and use their QR code to gain access. Texting is a popular method just because there's no setup for the end user and virtually everyone has a mobile. Aaron gave the example of people without smartphones. This works great for them. Rapid Identity also supports social logins using Facebook, Google, Twitter, or LinkedIn credentials. This method would more commonly be used for external users like guest accounts or possibly parent accounts for schools, etc. Time-based one-time password. These are changing tokens. We've talked about this before. You can link RapidID to any authenticator app. Similar to Microsoft Authenticator that Aaron talked about, you can use Google Authenticator, etc. So I just want to talk really quickly about multi-factor authentication and what it really means. It means multiple factors, not multiple methods. It's not MMA. One example is WebAuthn. It's one method, but it can involve 2 different factors. It can be something you have and something you are. So that's one method that is MFA. Another example, the school district I talked about that uses the pictograph, they use passwords and pictographs. And this is not technically MFA because even though it's using 2 different methods, they're both using the same factor. They're both using something you know. So It's not really MFA. It works great for them, and it's certainly more secure than just using a password, but that's not really MFA.
That's great, Russ. Thank you very much. Appreciate that information about rapid identity. I've been through the training for that application and really enjoyed the user interface on it in terms of setting things up. Kind of a, if I can do it, anybody can do it sort of thing. But we have looked at two different applications here, NetIQ and Rapid Identity. So Andy and Russ, is one easier to implement? Is one more suited to a certain environment or another?
Let's see. Easier. NetIQ or Rapid Identity is cloud-based, so most of the setup is done by Identity Automation. Andy, you're on mute.
My space bar wasn't working. So yeah, as we're talking, as far as when you look at easy, like you said, yeah, Rapid Identity being cloud-based, it is a software as a service. NetIQ is going to be, it can be hosted in the cloud, but it's still going to be that appliance, that hardware that you need to maintain and support moving forward. So it really, as far as complexity, I think they both have a fair level of different complexities and different abilities that they can do inside of there. So
I think NetIQ's probably got more functionality, more features, just because it's got more products, right? It's more.
Right.
I guess you could speak to that.
Yeah, basically it's going to bring a lot more functionality to the table, again, just because it is a whole suite of products versus one. That being said, Rapid Identity is very streamlined.
Yeah.
So when you purchase Rapid Identity, you're going to get the holistic all-in-one package that has everything you need already. And again, that versus having to get multiple products from NetIQ, which I guess does tie into cost.
Yeah.
So cost can be a factor. I know NetIQ, again, they are separate packages. To really get the full benefits, it is going to be more expensive. It is going to be more expensive too when you factor in each of those components.
And Rapid Identity, like I mentioned, it does have a lot of experience in the education sector. So if you have a smaller, more budget-conscious IT department, they might, in addition to kind of focusing things like schema and things like that towards education, they also have some budget-friendly options that are geared towards education. Yeah.
Yep. So I think looking at this slide, is one more suited to certain environments over the other? I think the answer is yes and no. At least in my opinion, they are both great products. It really just,
yeah. It just depends on your specific needs or the specific needs of your organization. Yeah.
Right. And along those lines, it's something that we can definitely work through and help you guys, help anyone with, so we can sit down and what is going to be best for you, because we want it to be the best solution that you have, and moving forward. So
excellent. Thank you very much, gentlemen. As promised, some resources. The first link will take you to the August webinar where we presented introductions to a number of different parts of the NIST framework. Then there's a link for the OpenText to take you for more information about the OpenText products, and one to take you to the identity automation products. I've been monitoring the question and answer queue, and at this point we don't have any questions. Here's an email address where you can reach out to us. We'll linger here for a couple of moments in case any questions pop into the queue. We wanted to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon and look forward to seeing you at a later webinar. Thanks very much.
you.